Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Meredith Duncan, and joining us from the Australian Army is Major John Holloway. We welcome the veterans who have served, those who are still serving, and the families who support them. Today, we warmly welcome the friends of Private Dale Abbott, whose story will be told shortly. In particular, we acknowledge the veterans of the Vietnam campaign, including former members of 1RAR who served with Private Abbott, who have come to honour him in service today. Gentlemen, we also thank you for your service. We acknowledge the members of the RSL and Services Clubs Associations and RSL Victoria who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony around Australia. This evening we'll also be joined by visitors who will be laying wreaths and floral tributes. Will you please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families, friends and Australians could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we'll read the story of just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and other conflicts over more than a century. But first, we present a lament. Flowers of the forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Dal Edward Abbott. Originally from Ashfield, New South Wales, Dal Abbott was conscripted under the National Service Scheme in March 1967. He underwent basic training at 1 Recruit Training Battalion, Kapuka, before being posted to Singleton for infantry training. In September 1967, he was posted to the 1st Battalion, Royal Australian Regiment, where he became a member of 3 Section, 7 Platoon, Charlie Company. Abbott enjoyed the battalion's intense training program in preparation for deployment to South Vietnam, and he was proud of his mates and the unit in which they were serving. His mates knew him as a quiet but friendly young man and someone who fitted in easily with the wider unit. He was held in high regard by his fellow soldiers, officers and NCOs. In the weeks leading up to deployment, Abbott spent as many of his weekend leaves as he could with his much-loved parents and fiancée. Abbott's battalion deployed for its tour in Vietnam, relieving 7 RAR on the 9th of April 1968. The soldiers were involved in patrols, reconnaissance, searches and security operations. In May, 1 RAR was sent to the north of Saigon for Operation Tone Tang, which aimed to block the retreat of communist forces following the Second Communist Offensive. On the 12th of May, 1 RAR set up Fire Support Base Coral, which held up under heavy attack twice in the ensuing days. On the morning of 30th May, Charlie Company conducted a reconnaissance in force operation. Just before 9 AM, the Australians were engaged by the Viet Cong, and when the Australians followed them, they came up against the bunker system containing at least a company of North Vietnamese Army regulars. The 2 platoons who led the company advance were pinned down when the NVA, using small arms, machine guns and rockets, opened fire. The NVA engaged the rear elements of Charlie Company with mortar fire. The officer commanding Charlie Company immediately requested reinforcements and artillery strikes. Dal Abbott was the number 2 on his section's machine gun, his job being to provide protection to the gunner, load new ammunition belts into the gun and assist with any stoppages to the gun. As Private Bob McLean, the machine gunner, began to fire the second belt of ammunition, the gun had a stoppage. McLean struggled to clear the gun and Abbott moved to assist his mate. When he raised his head to assess the problem, he was shot and killed instantly. The NVA by this stage were threatening to outflank the forward platoons, forcing them to retire. Abbott's body was left behind though briefly. Fire support arrived shortly after in the form of Centurion tanks, which had been sent to Fire Support Base Coral, turning the battle in favour of the Australians. Dal Abbott's body was then able to be recovered. His remains were sent to Borneo with the agreement of his family, where he was laid to rest in the Terendak Cemetery. He remains there to this day. Dal Abbott's name is now listed on the Roll of Honour on your right, along with more than 520 others from the Vietnam War. There is no photograph in the collection to display beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of courage and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Dal Edward Abbott and all of those Australians who have given their lives in service of our nation. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. Lest we forget.
We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over, but in Australia they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. Thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial, and I wish you a very good evening.